It's not easy playing a serial killer, never mind playing the victim, but for the cast of You, these were just the tip of the iceberg when it came to filming challenges. There were embarrassing moments, real-life stalker activity, and some distressing behind-the-scenes losses that made You nearly as dramatic off-screen as it is on-screen. And it started before the cameras were even rolling. Getting the job. When he was first offered the role, Penn Badgely wasn't keen to play a crazy person with a love of violence. Thankfully for us, the show's creators convinced him otherwise, because they wouldn't settle for anyone else in the lead role.
Well, I met Greg and Sarah. They apparently, very much wanted me for it, and it was really ultimately my conversations with them that made me overcome my pesky conflict over playing such a guy.
But not everyone had such an easy time getting cast. When Victoria Pedretti heard about You, she was determined to play Joe's love interest in season 1. That's right, she initially had her heart set on playing Beck. After that role went to another actress, Victoria tried again, and thanks to her work in The Haunting of Hill House, she got her audition and the part. That's nothing compared to Dylan Arnold's attempts. Before landing the role of Theo Engler, Dylan wanted to pursue a different role. As he told Teen Vogue, "I auditioned for Joe in season 1, and then I auditioned for 40 for season 2, and now, third time's the charm, I got Theo in season 3. If only someone had told these actors that getting the role was just the start of a wild ride. Be careful what you wish for. When Penn brought Joe to life, he expected backlash and suspicion from female viewers, not adoration and lust. The actor has even tried to convince fans not to idolize the killer he portrays on screen. It hasn't worked. Even celebs have jumped on the fan wagon. Stranger Things actress Millie Bobby Brown might have spent too long in the Upside Down, because when she started watching You, she shared an Instagram story reading, "So I just started that new show You. Joe's not creepy. He's in love with Beck, and it's okay." Luckily, once she'd watched a few more episodes, she changed her mind, but her initial reaction, and that of thirsty women across the internet, just confuses Penn. That morality issue extends to love, but unlike her on-screen boo, Victoria found it really intriguing. She explained, "That's part of what I enjoy about playing her, what it means to be appealing and come across as somebody who's good, but your actions don't reflect that at all." Like the rest of the world, Tatiana Gabrielle's been a huge fan of You since the first season, so when she got the chance to audition for the third season, she was ecstatic. But it wasn't until she'd secured the role of Marianne that she found out the details about her character, including whose eye she catches and the bad habits she has to kick. The best way to get ready was through loads of research. Preparation is key. Tati isn't an addict, so to play one on screen, she needed to do some research. The actress met with real addicts for pointers and advice for how best to bring her character to life. The rest of the cast also did their homework. Just ask Ben Mehl. There's more to Dante than his job and parenting skills. He's also blind. While the actor behind the role is visually impaired, he still needed help from the pros, including mobility and orientation specialists. Ben explained that he spent hours watching the residents of an apartment building designed to house blind people, and spoke with members of the community about their experiences. He's not the only one to have put his stalker skills to use. Before James Scully's demise as Love's brother 40, the actor prepared for his role by spending hours watching people. Thankfully, stalking was just one of the ways the cast prepared for their journey into serial killer land. For Travis Van Winkle, getting ready to be Carrie Conrad meant hitting the gym. The actor improved his diet and trained 5 days a week to build enough muscle to look the part. And while he was happy with his physique, there was a downside. He had to give up junk food. Of course, psyching yourself up for a part doesn't mean that filming will be a breeze, especially when you're dealing with a show about serial killers. Filming is fickle business. Penn Badgely has had to come to terms with more than just the internet's crush on serial killers. He's also had to develop some new skills. Joe's narration in You is one of the show's signature aspects, but it presents a huge challenge. While we hear Joe's voice, the actor playing him isn't talking, and that means a whole lot of staring into the distance and scowling. If that wasn't bad enough, there's the added pressure of not knowing how long to brutally stare at nothing. Luckily, Penn has a wingman in the form of his stand-in, Danny Waters, who takes one for the team while the actor does his thing.
He reads my voiceovers. It's really strange, to be honest. It's very technical. It's not like normal acting at all.
Danny isn't the only scene partner that Penn has to work with. There's also his on-screen boo and fellow crazy person, Love. Only Penn didn't know about the crazy part until it was too late. Can you believe he only found out about Love's after-hours habits when he did a chemistry reading with Victoria Pedretti at her audition? And that wasn't the most surprising thing about her.
But what they didn't tell me was that Joe would not like that. I just imagined like, oh, okay, so we're gonna go on some weird Bonnie and Clyde season 3 kind of thing.
The couple that slays together stays together, right? And speaking of couples, Victoria had some pretty intense challenges of her own. It's not just mentally challenging to play Love, it's physically demanding too. Miss Goldberg had a few fight scenes, and being a killer is apparently good cardio because Victoria admitted that those days were tough. Especially because she tried to do as many of her own stunts as possible. Not all UCAS struggles revolve around murder and mayhem. For Shalita Grant, crying on cue turned out to be a surprising challenge, and she routinely had to prepare herself for any scenes featuring tears. You know, like the one in which she's locked in a glass cage. Actually, Shalita explained that anything to do with that glass box was awful because she's claustrophobic. And it got worse when she had to share a tiny space with someone else, no matter how nice they are. At least Tavis doesn't feel the same way. I loved it. I love being in a confined space because you don't have anywhere to go, and so it intensifies things. I feel like everything just gets a little bit brighter in there, he said. There was also a totally different kind of struggle to keep a straight face. This season, Joe isn't the only one making hard eyes at someone outside his marriage. Love falls for the literal boy next door. But 19-year-old Theo Engler is played by an actor that's definitely no teenager. In fact, Dylan Arnold is also a year older than his on-screen love interest. This made it a little tough to keep a straight face every time Love referred to him as a teenager. I guess practice really does make perfect. There's a first time for everything. Acting can be challenging, especially when you have to do something for the first time on camera with a room full of people watching you. But for the cast of You, there were a record number of firsts captured on film, and not all of them were great. For example, Victoria learned the hard way that a spit bucket is totally necessary in food scenes after making herself ill from eating tons of donuts. She elaborated, "I just thought I could keep eating them, so I did. I had never really done a food scene before, and I just kept going. Sometimes you do things that are stupid. That was one of those days." Ben Mehl felt much the same way about his first day on set. The actor's theater background actually had a negative effect on his performance. As he revealed, "My instinct to fill the space with my voice kicked in. I said my first line and I was way too loud. It was a tough habit to kick, because it happened the second and third times he tried too." But the award for most awkward first experience goes to Tati. As Marianne and Joe start to make moves on each other, they eventually end the way of most Hollywood relationships, in the bedroom. Only the actress had never done a sex scene before. She was so scared she worked with an intimacy coach. Amazingly, it turned out she didn't have to worry because the actress totally nailed the scene. However, it's not the first time that intimacy has presented a challenge to the cast. Both Penn and Victoria have admitted that the strangest part of their relationship to film isn't the bloodshed, it's the intimate scenes. It's hard to film smooching scenes with COVID, you know? Sadly, the pandemic didn't just make intimate scenes difficult, it also caused an entire storyline to be scrapped. When Mark Bloom passed away from COVID complications, his character's storyline had to be deleted, and that meant goodbye to Mr. Mooney. He's not the only one we had to see go. The thing about serial killers is, they kill ya. Despite the eating, fighting, and moral issues she experienced as Love, the biggest challenge for Victoria was that her time was limited because she was told from the start that she only had a 2-season role.
I kind of assumed that I would be killed. It felt like stopping a running train.
She wasn't the only one watching the clock. Before his very first scene, the creators advised Travis Van Winkle that Carrie's time on the show was limited, but the actor didn't mind and saw it as a blessing rather than a challenge because he could give it everything he had and end with a bang. But what about the actors who escaped death? For Tatiana, all that matters now is finding out what the heck happened to Marianne and whether we'll see her again. Tati sure hopes so, and even has a wish list scenario. She told Ellie that she'd love Marianne to end up being the one to expose Joe, and suggested the show could use time jumps to do that. Like Tati, Jenna Ortega is also in the dark about Ellie Alves's fate. Frustratingly, her character didn't appear in the books, so we have no way of knowing if we should expect to see her again. But considering that she's still alive, it's possible. The final cast member's uncertain future could change everything. Yes, I'm talking about baby Henry. Whether or not we see the baby boy again depends not on Joe or even the show's creators, but on Caroline Kepnes, the author who wrote the series. But it looks promising. As co-creator Sarah Gamble hinted, the book and the show are in parallel timelines, but she has so many thoughts about Joe and a son and children, I don't think she's totally done exploring that, so therefore, neither are we. We'll have to wait for answers. For more You secrets, check out our other videos. Until next time, stay awesome.